Today's third video for you is firstly, we have a new story from Somalia where at last the date of the holding of presidential election has been announced. After 10 days, the election will be held. Second news story is from Wolayita in Ethiopia, where an 11th grade student has made a rocket with a range of 1 kilometer. Third news story is about a allegedly secret document which has been shared by some pro-Ethiopian government news sources. These pro-Ethiopian government news sources claim that this secret document shows TDF's preparations for another war. Document mentions the places where trainings are underway. It mentions the places and the countries which are allegedly funding Tigray Defense Force. Which countries are involved according to this document, and where are trainings underway? We'll have a detailed look at this document. Lastly, viewers, USAID's Samantha Power just 10 minutes ago released a statement about Ethiopia. It seems that USAID is now softening its position. Last year against Ethiopian government was that government was involved in man-made famine in Tigray. But now it seems that USAID is not very vocal against Ethiopian government. We have a detailed video clip of Samantha Power for you. You can see that USAID is just urging all parties that this resumption of aid to Tigray, its delivery should continue. No signs of any pressure being exerted from USAID on Ethiopian government. Let's start with the news story from Somalia views. At last, presidential election in Somalia will be held. The date has been announced. It will be held on the 15th of May. So after 10 days, next president of Somalia will be elected. More than a dozen candidates are contesting this election. Abdullahi Farmajo wants another term. He is being challenged by other former Somalia's presidents as well. Now, election was due to be held, I think, in 2020. So it's around 15 months late. Parliament's term expired at the end of 2020. At the start of 2021, President Farmajo's term expired as well. But there was tussle, there was confrontation between PM Roble, President Farmajo, opposition candidates, President Farmajo. So election was delayed. Then just last week, parliamentary elections were completed. Now stage is all set for presidential election. Next 10 days are very crucial. Farmajo's position seems to be weak because upper and lower house speakers have been elected in the past few days. Abdi Hashi, I think, was elected as Speaker of Upper House, and Ahmed Madobe was elected Speaker of Lower House. Both are seen as pro-opposition, not pro-Farmajo. That is why people say that Farmajo's position is weak. If Farmajo goes, it could be a blow to PM Abiy and Isaias Afwerki. The three signed an agreement, I think, after PM Abiy came to office, a security agreement. The three are seen as allies by most experts. If Farmajo goes, it could be a change in the Horn of Africa. But let's see, 10 days remaining. What will happen on the 15th of May? We'll update you after 10 days. Second news story is from Wolaita, viewers, where a brilliant Ethiopian youth has made a rocket with a range of 1 kilometer. Samuel Zacharias is the name of this youth. He is 11th grade student, and name of this rocket, he has named it as ETR-S1KM. The rocket was due to be fired today, test fired. It was not fired because of some range issues. So its test is expected in coming days. Earlier we saw a university in Amhara region of Ethiopia test fire a rocket. Now people would say, Sajid, that's not a news. Primary students can make rockets these days. For me it's a news. Ethiopia needs such activities. Ethiopia does not need massive recruitments by forces, by armed groups. Ethiopian youth should be directed towards these constructive activities. No matter what the range is, no matter what the student's age is, these activities should be promoted, be highlighted. And don't compare Ethiopian youth and the youth living in the US, Canada or US. This young man had no resources available. Earlier he made an excavator for which he won some medals as well. Despite having almost no resources, this young man has built this rocket with 1 kilometer. So it must be appreciated. Thirdly, viewers, some pro-Ethiopian government news sources have shared a leaked document. They say this leaked document shows preparations of Tigray Defense Force for another military offensive. A very detailed document. I have studied it completely. The document claims that Uganda is hosting Tigray fighters. Thousands of Tigray fighters are undergoing military trainings in Uganda. There are 4 training camps in Uganda. First one is in Black Tea camp in Masaka area, where 1,500 TDF fighters are under training. Second camp is in Kampala, where 2,600 are under training. Third is Murato military barracks, and 900 training there. And lastly, Noka Songa, where 600 under training. According to this document, around 5,000 Tigray fighters are undergoing military training at military camps in Uganda. And General Muhoozi Kainerugaba is overseeing this entire process. 2 TDF generals have held some meetings with Ugandan generals. TDF generals, General Varade and General Sadkan, both travelled to Uganda, allegedly. And South Sudan is serving as the host. Tigray officials, Ugandan officials, they meet in South Sudan. Ugandan ambassador to South Sudan is playing the role of intermediary between Tigray forces and Ugandan military officers. Preparations are underway. Who is funding this project? US. The document says that US government gave $200 million through Yoweri Museveni, Ugandan president, to Tigray forces and to Ugandan government as well. US is backing this project. Egypt is backing it as well. What is the purpose of this military training? Obviously a new military offensive. Now, we know that Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Ugandan general, perhaps the next president of Uganda as well, He's been speaking in favor of Tigray. Just 2 days ago, he said that his relatives were suffering in Tigray. He says people of Tigray are his relatives. So he has been showing his solidarity with the people of Tigray since the start of this conflict. Has this document been manufactured just to malign Muhoozi Kainerugaba? And if thousands of Tigray fighters are undergoing military training in Uganda, how will they reach Tigray? Only route is through South Sudan, that they can enter Tigray. If there is war for Humera, Volkai, Sagade, Western Tigray, will Sudan and South Sudan allow Uganda and Tigray to use their soil? Several questions. We are not confirming what is being claimed by this document. We are sharing what is being shared by government-backed news sources. Of course, Uganda denies. No one is going to acknowledge that this thing is happening. But that is what Ethiopian government-backed news sources are claiming. If we have more information from Uganda, if viewers have more information from Uganda, they can share it with me through my email sajid672000@gmail.com. Lastly, viewers, USAID is softening its position regarding the issue of Tigray. USAID Samantha Power last year was saying that Ethiopian government was involved in creating man-made famine in Tigray. Now, Samantha Power just 30 minutes ago spoke. She just said that all parties should work towards delivery of aid to Tigray and other parts in northern Ethiopia. She says that by the end of June, 1 million could be facing famine-like conditions. And around 90% of Tigray population is dependent on food aid. US just a week ago announced $313 million in additional humanitarian assistance for Ethiopia. Through this video message, Samantha Power is just showing concern about humanitarian crisis in Tigray, Amhara and Afar. This statement is not meant to put pressure upon Ethiopian government. Tigray still says that aid is not flowing freely into Tigray. Watch this video message shared by Samantha Power just 30 minutes ago. Thanks for watching.
Hello, everyone. For the past year and a half, the spiraling conflict in northern Ethiopia has become not just a humanitarian crisis, but a catastrophe. Fighting has left as many as 9 million people in desperate need of food and forced more than 2 million people to flee their homes. In the Tigray region alone, more than 90% of people depend on assistance, while across all of Ethiopia's northern regions, Afar, Amhara, and Tigray, up to 1 million people could face famine-like conditions by June. But there are glimmers of hope on the horizon. Recently, the government of Ethiopia and Tigray regional authorities reached a truce in their fighting, the source of so much of this human misery. And in early April, 2 humanitarian convoys transported food and nutrition supplies to help more than 100,000 people. The Tigray convoy was the first to arrive in the region by road in more than 3.5 months. Since the truce on March 24th, 190 trucks have arrived in Tigray, but far more must still be done. To meet the immense humanitarian needs in Tigray, more than 500 trucks carrying tons of food and life-saving supplies need to arrive each week. This assistance is vital. Across the north, conditions continue to deteriorate. Families do not have food. Malnutrition is on the rise, harming children and pregnant women. Displaced people lack even the most basic care, like emergency shelter or clean water. Health clinics have closed. So, USAID and our partners are working to get in as much assistance as possible and pushing for unblocked road access to meet the staggering needs across Ethiopia. As the largest supplier of assistance to Ethiopia, we provide more aid to the country than to any other country in the world. Just recently, we announced nearly $313 million in additional humanitarian assistance to help people affected by the ongoing crisis. This includes emergency food and nutrition assistance for 7 million people, medicines and medical supplies to combat infectious diseases, logistics support to deliver aid to people in remote and hard-to-reach areas, and support for children affected by the conflict and survivors of gender-based violence. With millions still in need of urgent aid across northern Ethiopia, we call on federal and regional Ethiopian authorities and communities to seize this opportunity to build on recent humanitarian successes, end this needless suffering, and put Ethiopia back on track